Section 74 of 5-Minute Stories. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. Recording by Ruhi Haq. 5-Minute Stories by Laura E. Richards. A Great Fight. The first I heard of it was when Fred came rushing into the house after breakfast. "The enemy!" he cried. "The enemy is upon us!" "Where?" cried the rest of us, jumping up. "In the battlefield, of course," he said, and he seized his flag and rushed out again. We followed as quickly as we could. I put on the helmet and Max took the drum, and we let Toddles have the bugle this time, because he had just tumbled down. And he had the hearth broom too, so he was all right. We ran into the field and found that the enemy had taken up a strong position behind the old cannon. Ours is a real battlefield, you know, and has been there ever since the war. We formed in line, and Fred made a flank movement, meaning to take the enemy in the rear. But when he heard Fred coming, he charged on our line, and Toddles ran away, but Max and I retreated in good order, and formed again behind a rock, and began to shell him with green apples. He stopped to eat the apples, and meanwhile Fred completed his flank movement, and falling on the enemy's rear, whacked it violently with a stick, waving his flag all the time, and shouting, "Yield, caitiff! Yield, craven hound!" I tell him that nowadays people don't say those things in war, but he says that Roland and Bayard did, and that what suited them will suit him. Well, the enemy turned suddenly on Fred and drove him back against the cannon, but by that time we had advanced again, and Toddles was blowing the bugle as hard as he could, which seemed to disconcert the foe. Fred took a flying leap from the cannon right over his back, and putting himself at our head, rallied us for a grand charge. We rushed forward, driving the enemy before us. A panic seized him, and he fled in disorder. We pursued him as far as the fence, and he got through a hole and escaped, but not before we each had a good whack at him. It was a glorious victory. Fred made us a speech afterward from the top of the cannon, and we all waved everything we had to wave, and vowed to slay the invader if ever he dared to show his nose on our side of the fence again. So that was all. Who was the enemy? Why didn't I say? Farmer Thurston's pig, of course. End of A Great Fight.